Hello, and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. If this is your first time here, the We Are Power podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As We Are Power is the umbrella brand to Northern Power Women Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and We Are Power. So today I am joined by Dr. Deborah Lawson, who is a multi-award-winning disability advocate who received her honorary doctorate very recently from Portsmouth University for significant contributions to society, advancing EDI over 2 decades, impacting hundreds of thousands of lives. And that's just a small part of my guest, Deborah's bio today. Deborah, welcome to the We Are Power podcast.
Thank you. Hi, it's lovely to be here.
Oh, and it was Portsmouth University, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, it was.
That is amazing. What did that feel like, Dr. Deborah?
Yeah, mind blowing. It's not sunk in. My husband keeps using it all the time, and for the first few weeks, I was like, "Who?" Yeah, mind blowing. Really, yeah. I don't actually think it will sink in.
Oh, no, you've got to embrace that. And I'd have the full title all the time, quite frankly. In fact, we need to change the caption in the in the bottom of the screen here. But this isn't new for you, winning numerous awards, including the Prime Minister's Point of Light Awards. And of course, the pièce de la résistance, the Person with Purpose Award at this year's Northern Power Women Awards. What does all this recognition mean to you? Because we often find it awkward, don't we, to take that on board?
Yeah, I mean, it does mean the world to me. It's hard to put it into words what it feels like, because I'm quite a passionate person and I'm very, very empathetic. And when I see people struggling or areas, I will get my cup and fill theirs up. And it does leave you empty, and it feels that when you're recognised and you win an award, it feels like the awards are filling your cup back up, and it gives you that charge to keep going again. And yeah, it's like it gives you a few years more of, do you know what I mean? The emotional and the upbeat and everything that you can then go and do again. Because you've given what you've got to somebody else, but then they give it to you. And it's like good karma always coming round again to you, And yeah, it really does. It just gives you the boost that you need. Sometimes you don't even realise like how almost out of energy you are with it all, and then that happens and it takes you by surprise and you think, oh my gosh. And I remember talking to you when it just happened, and I said I was like on a buzz. I'm still on that buzz, that buzz hasn't gone yet, so but yeah, so I just think it just gives you the confidence to keep making a positive difference, really.
And what has it felt like sort of embracing the Northern Power Women Awards and the We Are Power community? Because I see you have really embraced it. Or let us embrace you, shall I say?
Yeah, I love it. I kind of feel like it's family. I haven't really got much of a family around me, and it feels like when you win an award, and it is such a powerful community, and it's like they take you under their wing. It's like you become part of the army, and a powerful, positive army, and it feels really, really good, because it gives you that feeling that, these people, they believe in what I'm doing. And that feels really powerful, because you just think, I'm on the right track. What I'm doing is right. And it just keeps you going forward. It just keeps you thinking, I've got that confidence to keep going. Because I think as well, if you work for a charity and different things, that's all very well and good. But when you're alone and you're doing it, it's much harder, because there's nobody there to shiver you along or be there, but you almost feel like, yeah, you've got a team of women celebrating you as well, going, come on, and so yeah, it makes a huge difference.
And I love that reference to a powerful, positive army. I love that. Might have to be a Navy because obviously that's my background, but it's okay. Well, we'll take.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
And you talk about motoring on. It was only a few weeks back. I tagged you in a post on LinkedIn, which was we incorporated a great shot of you from the night of the awards with joy on your face. And it was on the side of a massive building in Manchester to promote when we had the awards nominations open. And within 2 hours, you were in a car sending me a picture of you outside. I mean, that was phenomenal. Talk about motoring on.
Yeah. Oh, it was so true. Like my husband immediately, he was just like, I said, he said, well, when are we going? And I said, well, I said, possibly go like tonight or over the week. And he said, no, he said, we're going as soon as we get home. He said, I'm on my way home. And immediately we just got in the car and that was it. Off we went, And what an honour. It was like something on my bucket list that I didn't realise was on my bucket list, And what a huge honour. All my friends are sort of saying, that's it, you're a celebrity now, And I can't believe it.
And you talk about your husband. I remember meeting you in person for the first time at the awards last year. I'm pretty certain he tried. You and him ran over me in my dress, but that's a whole other thing.
I did, yeah.
but you're a team. The thing that strikes me is you're a team, and what you've just talked about there, which I wasn't aware of, the fact that he just went, "Let's go, let's get on this. Let's celebrate every moment, right?"
Absolutely, yeah. He's huge on just uplifting me. And I almost feel like, without him, I couldn't do half of what I do. And I just feel like it's this big blow. And it's almost like he, not literally, but it's like he puts me on his shoulders and says, you can't do all these things, but you can if I'm there. So off he goes. And like literally, it's like he lives for me. It's like he just feels his purpose is to help me achieve. And whatever I need to do, he's just there. It's like, well, where should we go? What do you need to do? Where do you need me to take you? Do you need me to take a day off work so I can take you to do that? Do you need me to do this? And it's just amazing to have that support and somebody that believes in what you're doing that strongly. And then he's carried that on himself. He will then go off and be an ally and an advocate himself, And so it's so nice to see that, and just to see that difference. And we're just like a twosome, we go everywhere. I mean, I need to go everywhere with somebody. I can't really go by myself, but I have so much fun. Yesterday I went to the dentist to have 2 crowns and he dropped me off to come back. And I was like, immediately like, you're gone, And then I was like, come on, Deb, you're an adult. Because I'm so used to having to have somebody there with me,
I can't even, I've never ever heard a phrase that said I had so much fun going to the dentist. Deborah.
Yeah. For 2 crowns as well.
Hey, you were always wearing a crown as far as I'm concerned, Deborah. But just talking, I know we've talked about awards and obviously we're very proud of what we've created and built, the largest event celebrating gender equality in Europe, don't you know? But awards have a big part to play, do you think, in sort of driving conversations around inclusivity, around EDI, especially around where underrepresentation lies?
100%, because I think they elevate people that are underrepresented. I think that's really important. So they recognise the work that some people that wouldn't get noticed are doing. I think it means as well that conversations are had that need to be had. Even on the night, you'll be networking or you'll be reading or hearing what other people are doing and thinking, I didn't even realise that was a problem. And then you start learning about it and thinking, wow, that's amazing, when you connect with these people and you stay in touch with them. And, and I think as well, it encourages people to do good as well, because I think even like organisations and things will be sat and they'll be watching and they'll think, that's really cool. And if they're doing that, why aren't I doing that? And, and I think, holistically, it can make such a difference. And it just elevates people that normally are not elevated because it's, people in the public eye, it can be the same few always. And then there's just these people underneath that doing like silent charity work that never get noticed. And I think it's so important to have awards and be at these events and things like that, because, you learn so much from other people. and celebrating them as well. I think, just to be there and celebrating other people and what they're doing.
And it's amazing, some of the work that you've done. Major campaigns, disability awareness guide that has and training programs across 600 stores, and as well as authored accessible fashion guidance. What has been the most sort of rewarding aspect of creating and making this change with this work that you've done?
Just seeing the difference. I am somebody that is a bit of a believer in like silent charity work. So I'm somebody that likes to have spent like a year on a massive project and then go and see it, and people don't know it's me that's done it all. And then I'll see them going and enjoying it, and I'll see them going in and being accepted and being welcomed and, going around with a smile on the face. And just to know that you've created that for other people. And I'll just sit there thinking, awesome. That is how the world should be. That is what I want the world to be. I want everybody to be seen and respected and valued. And seeing the changes of people's attitudes and things like that towards a lot of marginalized groups, and it makes it all worthwhile, because I think that you don't choose to be a disability advocate. It almost chooses you, when you are discriminated against and isolated and ostracized and things like that. And I think some of us immediately think, no, we can't sit back and just allow this to happen to another generation of people, and especially disabled women have it even harder. And I think so, when that happens, it's like you automatically just have to move forward, and then these things find you. And then I think because as well, disability, you really are discriminated in every area of your life. It's not just a small sector. Everything you do all day long, discriminated against. I think that's why my work has always been so broad. It's because I didn't want to just focus on one area. I wanted to change. I wanted change completely. I wanted the next generation not to experience what I'd experienced, and so it really is just seeing that change, just seeing people treated better, and seeing people welcomed and able to go into stores and buildings and different things like that, and not have to go through those feelings that some of us have had to go through.
But we still have to do better, don't we? There's still so much to be done. You've talked about creating that future and that change for the next generation. If with your magic wand, I was going to say if you had a magic wand, but clearly you have one, right? So that magic wand is charged up now. What would you use that for?
I think I'd change people's attitudes. I think attitudinal barriers is a huge problem. I think if you have the right attitude, you automatically then look to change. You automatically then, you think, oh, well, hang on a minute, something's wrong here. There's no ramp. We're not letting people in. We're not, And for example, this is where it really started. I started off realizing that I couldn't access anywhere, so I started focusing on physical accessibility. And then I realized I went into the shops and I was still treated really badly. People talked to my husband that I was invisible and different things like that. And I thought, this is not working. What have I missed? And I realized that actually it was people's attitudes and unconscious bias that need to change. And once we tackle that, then things improve, because then they want to change. If you've got a strong leader like yourself leading the way with a positive attitude who, wants equality, your staff then will change. Your staff then will lead and follow you. And that's, I think, the key. It's making sure that there are strong people in positions of leadership, for others to follow, because I think that really is that's the issue, because too many people don't care. Too many people sort of say, well, you can't access it. Well, you just can't come in. Well, you just have to stay at home. Well, it's like, no, nobody should do that. Nobody should feel like that, So I think, yeah, it is. But I think, unfortunately, it's so deep and ingrained in us all, in books. You think about the media, you think about fairy tales, Captain Hook, Tiny Tim. There's so many negative images in the media of disabled people that need unpicking, that need sort of rewinding back. I think it would take like 200 years to resolve everything. But I think if you don't start, it's never going to start being unpicked, you know?
And if you had one ask of our listeners and watchers, whether they be a leader, whether they be part of a community, what would your ask of them to be? Because if we haven't got 200 years to wait, you can't wait that for change.
Yeah, it would be to embrace diversity for all marginalised groups. I mean, I know a lot of disabled people feel that we are the forgotten marginalised group disability is. But yeah, it would be to embrace it, to listen, to employ disabled people, to any decisions that affect disabled people must involve disabled people, you know, otherwise it's very othering, you know, nothing about us without us, you know. And I think that's so important because, you know, there is, I don't know whether your listeners are familiar with like the medical model of disability and the charity model of disability and the social model of disability. And the social model is literally society's disabling us. You know, it's not us that are disabled, it's society. You know, it's somebody else has decided to put stairs in everywhere and stairs in shops to disable me from coming in. You know, somebody's decided to put a narrow doorway in. None of those things needed to be there. Somebody has gone around and disabled people, you know. So it's about learning that society can take control of that. You know, it's society. It's not my fault because I have to use a wheelchair. It's like we can all do something to make things better, to make things easier. You know, we can, at the end of the day, if you put level access in, it's accessible for everybody. You know, you're not excluding anybody, you know, so it is reframing people's thoughts, I think, you know.
I remember it was, it must be about 3 years ago now. And it was, I was interviewing an amazing woman on the podcast, and she talked about, you know, don't just put a wheelchair ramp in for a wheelchair user. Don't just think single-mindedly about that. That's the answer to that. Put it in because actually it could help that person. It could benefit that. It could be a solution for here, but it becomes sort of that tick box. So it is that social exclusion that you're talking about and not thinking. But to your point, advocacy and seats at the table are critical. We need that representation. If you just said nothing about us without us, we cannot be making decisions and making change unless you're invited. So, Deborah, get at more tables, right?
Exactly.
Invite Deborah to more tables, because I know you'd be at as many as you could get to.
I do. Yeah, I do. And it is exactly that, because I think that, I mean, as you know, I've got an issue with my housing at the moment, and some of the biggest problems is because the people making the decisions, they're not disabled, they're not wheelchair users. They draw up plans that they've no idea about, you know, and if they don't listen, if they don't work with people, they don't understand how, you know, different people's experiences of life is. And I genuinely didn't, you know, I became disabled in my late teens, and it really shocked me because I suddenly thought, whoa, it's like there's a different world out here. And it was hidden in plain sight. It was something I'd never seen. And, you know, I give myself a little bit of grace because I was a teenager, but I think about it all the time and think I didn't really notice those steps. I didn't really notice all those people being excluded. Why didn't I? Why as a society weren't we brought aware of that? Why are we sort of, you know, why don't we notice those things? Why have we been brought up to not notice those things, you know? And it's like there is a world hidden in plain sight that's affecting millions of people that, yeah, we all need to tackle it. It's everybody's problem, you know, if we all, and that's the same with any sort of discrimination. It's everybody's problem. We all need to come together and be a society and be there for each other, you know.
And we all need to be advocates. And I always believe that we don't need to be monogamous with our advocacy. And I'm sure that sounds wrong in many different ways, but we don't just have to go, oh, I'm going to be an advocate for this underrepresented group, or I'm going to be, we can share the love around that. And to your point, I loved your phrase about talking, we can all operate as like a silent charity.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to go out wearing badges, and you know we love our badges and such like. We don't have to go out and do that.
Yeah.
But we can, you know, we can all be that intentional ally and advocate.
Exactly. And I think that's it. I think, you know, for me, I fell into advocacy because I didn't like injustice. And it bothered me to have that happen to me, but to see it happen to other people. But that injustice happens not just to disabled people, it happens to, because of your religion, because of your race, because of your sexuality. And that injustice just burns me, and I think that when you're like that, we are so powerful if we all came together and realize that so many people, I think, are bothered by that, and yeah, even, like gender equality, we all want fairness, and underlying it, we all want this equality that we haven't got, and yeah, I just think that society could change so easily, because if we realize the numbers of us are so big, we outnumber people that don't want it,
And one of the things that I'm like in awe of as well is that you've also written a children's book, Damson's Friendship Wish, which is all about promoting inclusion at a younger age, because education at the youngest age and informing those stereotypes and biases at that early age is critical. How are you hoping that this book is going to change the conversation around disability and equity and fairness?
So, I mean, the way I see it is children are really, really receptive. And I'm hoping that, if you discuss it from a really young age, that they'll just see that as normal. They won't, because they're curious, and they're like little sponges, aren't they, at that age? And I'm also really hoping that, kids that feel different for whatever reason will realise that's okay. They are already perfect, and they're like little stars. Every single one of them shines brightly in the sky, They don't need to all be one star. They're all separate little stars, and I want them to have that confidence and that self-acceptance. They are brilliant as they are, and I want other children to know that those children are brilliant as they are. They're all equal, And I think it's so important to introduce that at a young age, because it's something that people avoid talking about, Or I mean, when I was writing the book, I talked to an editor, and he said to me, "Oh no, you have to have bullying. You have to show that the character that's meant to sort of represent disability is hated and bullied." And I was like, "No, why is that a thing? Why are we teaching kids that actually, if you're disabled or you're different, it's all right to be bullied?" I was like, "No, we shouldn't do that, And I said, in that way, I don't care if I never sell a single copy. I said, I want to do what I see is right, And it's been delayed. I was meant to sort of release it a month or two ago, and I've delayed it. But the profits from it are going to go to donating more, so as many copies as possible can go into children's hands to just embrace it, just embrace that actually they're fine, they're perfect, and we're all different, but that's awesome. Those differences are just what makes us who we are, and that difference is just what's good about everybody. We don't all want to be the same.
No, absolutely. It is absolutely embracing your own uniqueness. And what is going to be the uniqueness of your legacy, Deborah?
I guess resilience and not giving up, I think, really. Not being afraid, having the courage to speak up, having the courage to keep going, even when it makes you unpopular, because, I've come up against real resistance that really knocks your confidence, especially when I started doing it, there was nobody wanted to know about it, Now it's a little bit more accepted, but you still get met with resistance all the time. So to speak up can be quite scary, But it's about speaking up and then realizing if you keep going, you will make a difference. But it takes time. I think because we're trying to dismantle systems and build them again from the bottom up, that doesn't happen overnight, and it's about looking and thinking, actually, she did that. It took her all this time, but she made a massive difference. And it's about having that self-belief that actually, if you keep going those little steps, they become miles, do you know what I mean? The further you keep walking, the further you're going to get, and just having that self-belief that no matter what anybody does, they make a difference. If you offer your arm to somebody on the street because they're feeling a bit wobbly, you've made a difference to somebody. The tiniest things, it doesn't always have to be huge things that somebody does. If everybody just did something small, we would be a better community, and I think that kindness is so important, just be there for each other.
I'm a big fan of the small incremental, the small little things all add up into something sort of massively momentous. What is next for you? We talked about the book. We've talked about some of your many accomplishments. We know you've been involved in trials and having seats at the table to ensure that research outcomes are more impactful because you're at the table. But what is next for you? Because you're not stopping.
No, I'm never going to stop. I don't. Carry on with what I'm doing. Pushing. I mean, I mentioned my housing before, and I've spoken out about it, and it's created. I've been contacted by literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people saying that because I had the courage to speak up, they're now speaking up for the first time.
And this is an injustice, isn't it? This is the home that you lived in, if I recall rightly, because I know.
Yes.
Yeah. Explain, Deborah.
Yes. Yeah. So I was in an adapted home that was set on fire by some builders that my housing association employed. We were then homeless for 4 months. We were rehoused in a place that was far too small and less than half the size. And I've been battling for 8 years to either get adaptations or be moved. And nothing's happened. In 8 years, all we've done is they've just talked about it, discussed what to do. All my clothes are in the loft, all my belongings, all my medical equipment, everything up a ladder, literally, there's no room for wardrobes, there's no room for anything. It's that small. And in the end, I thought I've got to speak up because this is not just a me problem. There's 400,000 wheelchair users in the UK in inaccessible homes. Again, it's another problem hidden in plain sight. And if I don't speak up and have the courage to do that, as much as I don't want to sort of share my life everywhere, things are not going to change, And as I said, I've had people contact me telling me that, they were housed in places that they had to crawl upstairs on their hands and knees and all sorts of awful things. And they're sort of saying, now you've spoken up, we're speaking up. And I've seen them posting it and saying, this is the first time I've discussed this and the first time I'm admitting it because I felt so much shame around it. And I'm just thinking, yes, this is brilliant, and I've made sure I'm going to be taking it, making sure that the disability unit know it. I've reported it to every organisation in the government you can think of. I'm part of a government network and we're talking about how to get it to the disability minister. We want change. They sort of reported back to me and said, we're thinking of this with new homes. And it's like, it's not a new home problem. A lot of disabled people, we can't afford to either move or rent a new home. It's existing homes. We need to, they need to be communicating with people. So it's almost like everything, as I said, it's almost like I don't choose it chooses me, and whatever kind of happens, I realise actually this needs tackling. This is still a ginormous problem that people are not dealing with and not tackling, and it needs somebody to just, basically bravely say, right, we have to do something, and make a difference. And yeah, it's never just you that's suffering. It will be so many people that are suffering with you.
And this is why you can never, never, never underestimate the power of your voice, the power of leaning in to go, well, actually, if I don't shout out about this, who else? And if you don't, and if you're open it for someone else, you're going to make change. You're a perennial change maker, Deborah. You're an outstanding advocate, and it's an honour to just speak with you because I know we're going to keep watching this space. We're going to keep watching this change because the work's not done, and what we need is more advocates to join, more advocates to open the doors to help us to get to the solutions. So we're not talking about this in 200 years.
Yes, exactly that. The more people that speak up, the more people that do what I'm doing, the quicker that change is going to come. And the more that because services are broken and they only serve the people that hold the purse strings. They're not benefiting the end users. But the more people that speak up, the more they have to change because voices, as you say, they're so powerful, And yeah, as many people that can speak up as possible, as many people that can advocate, as many people that can be an ally as possible, it makes a huge difference because I think we have social media now, something we never used to have. And that is so powerful. I mean, for example, last week, 11% of my LinkedIn views were from the regulator of social housing. That's huge, because that means that people with power are really looking and following what's happening, so you do make a difference.
And this is the power, and you most definitely make a difference. If you want to support or get in touch or get behind or enable anything that Deborah's doing, please do get in touch. Follow her on our socials, because this is an ultimate Northern Power Women. Deborah, thank you so much. You are awesome. We will continue to stay connected, see and follow all of the amazing work you do. Thank you so much for joining us today on the We Are Power podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. We Are Power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter. Or We Are Power on LinkedIn, Facebook. And We Are_power on YouTube.